What happens when a musician discovers that business isn't about the building?
Your product isn't the house you build, the renovation, the extension. Your product is the quality of their experience.
From professional drummer to life insurance salesman to revolutionizing how builders think about profit.
The thing I'm most proud of creating is the community. Just recently coming up with a really simplified approach to it, because really identifying that there's so much information out there that the information is overwhelming.
Today we explore why the chaos within must be addressed before any system can work, and how one profound conversation with a millionaire changed everything about purpose in business. This is about transformation from the inside out. Welcome Mick from Builder Business Blackbelt.
Mick, thank you very much for coming up and making time for this. The more I've looked into reading and learning and asking people about you, the more I learn.
You've been stalking me.
A little bit of late. And then the next person will give me I'll find something else out slightly different to what the previous person maybe had said. And again, hearing you just share with your passion in audio, learning something new there. So rather than jump straight in and talking about what Builders Business Blackbelt is all about, what you guys do there, because there's a few things I'm really keen to dive into and spend time on. Can you paint a bit of a picture of what Mick got up to before?
Really?
Before the Mick we know today.
Yeah. As I was sort of talking about, like I had developed a passion for music at high school and ended up becoming a professional musician, but I was in the trades first. So I think I left high school, so I didn't need any more school after high school because I was already smart enough, so I didn't need to go to matriculation or university or anything like that. And I remember coming home towards the end of grade 10 and my dad said, who was a builder, my dad was a commercial builder, and he said, there's an electrician coming over to give you a job tonight, and if you don't take it, you'll be working for me. So my destiny was chosen for me that I was going to be an electrician because I wasn't working for my dad.
Why would you not work for your dad?
Why would you want to work for your dad? Like, I know some people do, and there's a bunch of our members who have their sons working with them, but it just
wasn't for you.
It wasn't for me.
Okay. And did building or carpentry or that appeal to you?
No.
Did a trade appeal to you?
I hadn't even thought about it. It was just...
Really? So it was out of the blue, kind of came as a bit of a shock?
Yeah, it's like you are getting a job.
Oh, right, okay. And this is grade?
Grade 10.
Wow.
Yeah, so I was 15.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I became an electrician, apprentice electrician, did that for 4 years. At the end of that, it was mutually agreed that I probably shouldn't pursue being an electrician.
What did you like and what did you not like about those 4 years?
I mean, I actually enjoyed the electrical type and
using
sort of
brain and the
figuring out that sort of stuff. But I guess I was just a kid and just wanted to do what I wanted to do, and so I guess I just wasn't a very good employee. But I went back to the tool. So after I finished my electrical apprenticeship, I packed my 3-in-1 sound system, if you know what that is. Do you know what a 3-in-1 was?
No,
I've got to give you. It was a record player, an AM, FM radio, and a cassette player all in one.
Wow. I did not know that existed.
Yeah, it was a thing. So I had that and my drum kit. They were my two worldly possessions in the back of my HQ panel van, and headed off to Sydney for a 3-month holiday with a mate. Stayed there for 13 years.
Whoa. What did you do there for 13 years?
It was sort of labouring when I first got there, and then I got to join a band.
Why not? You have the trade. Why not?
Oh, because I just didn't want to go back to electrical work. I did eventually, but I didn't at that time. And I joined a band, which was a funny story. I'd seen this band playing in Hobart. they had a residency in Hobart, and they were called the Kiwis. They were originally a New Zealand band. When I saw them, there was no more New Zealanders left in the band. And
they haven't recently done a show in like the last year or two.
I wouldn't have thought so.
No, okay, I'm mixing them up with someone else. Okay.
No. And I just happened to walk into the Bondi tram in Bondi Beach, and this band was playing there, and so I went up and chatted with them, and sort of said, I saw you guys down in Hobart whatsoever, and I mentioned that I played drums, and the lead singer said, oh, that's interesting. Our drummer is leaving, and we need a new drummer. Do you want to come and try out? And this was like on their fourth bracket, so it was quite late in the night, and the singer was quite pissed, saying this. But I've gone home and I'm going, I've got an audition and I've done some practice. They sort of said, these are the sort of songs you're going to play, so I practiced them, and like an absolute dick, walked into the pub the next week for the audition with my drumsticks in my back pocket.
Yeah. Nice.
And I walked up to the singer and said, I'm here. And
I'm ready to rock.
his face is just, and he because he'd forgotten all about it, and he was sober now.
But the drummer was really leaving.
The drummer was leaving,
Okay.
and like they told me all of this story later on that. I said to this guy, he can get up and have a play with us, because they didn't know whether I could play or anything like that. So we got to get him up. So they waited till right at the last few songs for the last bracket.
Okay.
The singer was drunk again by this stage, so he was happy. And I got up and I played 3 or 4 songs and got through them pretty well and got the gig.
Wow, so you played live?
Yeah.
So the audition was to play live with the
in
band?
front of 500 people, yeah.
What? How was that?
It was a little bit nerve-wracking, but I kind of knew the song, so just head down and bum up. And I quite enjoy that. I play in a little trio now, and particularly with percussion and what have you, I quite often just sit in with other people playing their original songs, so you've never even heard them.
Wow.
Until you're up playing, and you just, I don't know,
Just feel it.
You just feel it, and it all works.
Wow.
Yeah.
Prior to that moment, you were just labouring.
Yeah.
And didn't have a direction.
No.
Did you ever think about where you were going to go?
No.
What?
No. I was just floating along.
Yeah.
And
what pulled you towards this? Just give it a go. Just something new. Try out for a band.
Oh, I'd always loved music, so I was playing music at high school. So back at high school in first year, they split the whole grade up into 4 groups.
Yeah.
And one group had to go to home economics, one to woodwork, one to art, and one to music.
Okay.
And then
and that was just by chance, or you chose in the direction you?
No, I didn't. They put you in a group, and I just happened to be put into the one that was sent to music for that term, and then they'd get everyone back together at the start of the next term, and they said the people who are at music now have to go to woodwork. So you're meant to do them all, but I really like music, so I snuck around the back and got back into the music group. So I never went to woodwork or art or anything like that. I kept going back to music, and the music teacher knew that I wasn't meant to be there, but she was awesome and knew, if you've got a passion about something, you should foster that passion. So she never said anything, and I just did music for the 4 years that I was at high school. So getting the opportunity to play professionally was, I thought I was living the dream.
Yeah. And so how long did you play professionally, and what did that look like?
What it looked like was getting up at midday and driving to the gig and setting up and playing and getting home at 5 a.m. and just having a fantastic time. The guitarist in the band back then, so this is like the very early 80s, he lives in Sydney, and he came down and visited me just a couple of weeks ago. So he was the best man at my wedding, and we hadn't caught up for ages, and it was just like old times. Yeah, it was just fantastic, and but that lasted for a couple of years, the thing I remember about it most was just two things. Like from a skill point of view, is building rapport and communicating with the venue managers or owners, and building connections.
Yeah.
I mean, we weren't the best band in the world, but I just remember watching the band leader, who's now passed away, unfortunately, but he was just really good at two things: reading the room, which is something that I think I was able to pick up, when I do workshops and seminars and all of that.
Incredible
sort of
skill
stuff.
set to
And building rapport with individuals. So I remember that we got sent on a tour, and it was meant to be a 3-month tour of the eastern seaboard of Australia. And I was just watching the lead singer. He would always find out who the decision maker was for the venue, and spend time with them, have drinks with them, have fun with them, get them laughing. And they just used to have a blast with him. And so they would said, when are you coming back? So we had a 3-month tour basically that went from Melbourne all the way up to Queensland and across into the Northern Territory, down into Alice Springs, Ayers Rock. And what our manager had thought we would do was just when we got to Ayers Rock, drive back. But our lead singer said, no, we're going to get paid to go back. So he'd booked us in pretty much every venue himself.
Wow.
To go back to Sydney. But then he was that good at it that when on the way back, everyone wanted us to come back again. So we had to go back.
What?
So the 3-month tour ended up being 9 months. But it was just interesting watching.
That would have been a phenomenal learning ground.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I mean, learning to read the room. What do they want right now? What's the energy like in the room? And how to build rapport and connection with people. You wouldn't have thought you'd learnt that doing that sort of thing, but it was a very powerful lesson.
I bet. But also when you point it out, it makes a lot of sense, because music is very much a feeling and emotional experience. And so that's when you tie those two in. But then you obviously made it financially viable in the sense of, well, let's get invited back and get paid for it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm really keen to hear more as to how that. I mean, we all know that how well that can tie through to business. So what happened? Talk me through then some of the key milestones between that point and then starting Builder's Business Blackbelt.
After the band, I got serious because I met my wife as we were touring through Alice Springs. We've been together for 40 years.
What section of the tour was this?
In
the beginning, middle,
almost at the end. Okay. Luckily, I'll say no more. We've been together for 40 years since then.
Wow! What stood out to you about her when you came across her then?
Oh, she looked pretty good. We finished there. And that's when I went back to the tools. So we moved in together after that, and I left the band, and I went back on the tools, and I found that I was one of the gigs we had was quite technical, installing a machine called I can't remember what it was called, but it was a massive big machine, and it put it was called a metallizer, I think. So you had a roll of plastic, and through vacuum and heat and electronic wizardry, it would get metal and make it stick to the plastic, and it was used in the printing industry, like for the shiny print on packets of cigarettes and all of that sort of stuff.
Okay.
And I was the only person in the state who knew how this machine worked, and the circuit diagram for it was you rolled it out on a piece, like on a table, like 4 meters long.
Wow.
to figure out how, and I was just fascinated with that. I just loved it, and figuring out how this thing worked. And so whenever it broke down, I was the person that had to go and fix it. Yep. So that was really interesting. And And then I woke up one morning, as most people do, and because most people subconsciously want to sell life insurance. That's a joke.
That's a joke. I was like, please explain that.
Look on your face. It's like,
I've never heard that.
no, it's a horrible job. But I always try and take the piss out of it. I did that for 2 years, and I was successful at it. I was successful at it in the beginning because I just worked like an idiot and was doing 14 hours a day, 6 and 7 days a week.
What does that look like? What do you...
Get to the office early. I was getting to the office and planning and reading. The agency that I worked for had a requirement that you had to attend sales training for 1 hour every day, 5 days a week for the first year that you were there.
Excellent.
It was a requirement. I fortunately ran into a mentor there who was teaching the sales. His name's Ian. He's still an awesome friend to this day. He does presentations for Blackbelt. He's a brilliant guy, and that's where we met. And so that was a pivotal point, because I didn't fall in love with selling life insurance, but I fell in love with the personal development aspect of what I was learning through the sales training. And so there's a whole lot of techniques for selling, which is cool, but what I really fell in love with was what you can do, what you can put in your own mind to change yourself, how you think, how, managing your emotional state. That's where I started to learn all of that, and I fell in love with that, and I found myself teaching some of the other sales guys stuff like time management, because as I said, I was working 14 hours a day, 6 and 7 days a week, only because I was incredibly inefficient. But I would say about as inefficient as most people.
Okay.
And I just felt that there had to be something better, and I was reading time management books and not much was changing, and I ended up going to this seminar called Time Power, and it was an American seminar, and it was all put together by Dr. Charles Hobbs, who put the process together. And I went to this thing, and it just blew my mind, because there were techniques about time management, but fundamentally the essence of it was effectiveness comes from how good you are at managing your thoughts and your emotions, because time management is a misnomer. It's not, you can't manage time. You can't speed it up, slow it down, save it in a jar for later. Like, it marches on no matter what's going on. So in essence, time is the progression of sort of one moment after another, and your choices as to what you do in those moments really determines your effectiveness. So, and learning from that, and learning from the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Stephen Covey as well. I was just consuming this stuff flat out. I went to this time management 1-day session, and I was so blown away by it, I booked in again, and I booked in again. So I was going to a full day session on time management. I think for 14 months in a row, I went every month to the exact same thing. People thought I was nuts. What, are you going back to the slow learner or something? Why are you going back to that same thing? And it's because every time I went back and was exposed to that same information, I was looking at that same information from a slightly different perspective, so I got a completely different meaning from it. And every time I went, I would get incredible value from it. So that was a lesson in and of itself, and it's something that
The lesson of repeatedly consuming knowledge, but as you grow, you can see it differently, and you take it on differently.
Getting deeper into the knowledge rather than... I found that I went through a period where get that book or that audio book or go to that workshop or be influenced by that person, what have you. And
I think a lot of people resonate with that.
There were just so many influences. But now I find that it's like, which are the ones that you resonate with the most? Let's just keep going back to those and go deep. Like right at the moment, I'm right, fanboy of Stephen Bartlett and Diary of a CEO and all of that sort of stuff. And that's influencing what we're talking about in Black Belt. But it's just one book, The Diary of a CEO, that I'm listening to, but I'm going back and back and back into each chapter, each rule that's in it, and then looking, oh, that's interesting, let me teach that. So I'll put a session together like we did yesterday, just on pressure is a privilege. So I think that's, rule 23 or 24 in his book. And I just went really, really deep into it. And it was powerful for the people that participated in it. But I think, I went to Tony Robbins back in the late 90s, and one of the things that he said is we teach what we most need to learn. And that's been profoundly powerful for me. It's like I'm basically a coach and doing coaching because I need to learn this stuff. I need to learn it so deeply myself. The best and fastest way to learn it is to teach it. So kind of that's how I ended up with Black Belt, because of that one thought process. I've got to teach it. You learn it far more deeply. Like if I'm about to teach you something now and I say you've got to stand up in front of 500 people tomorrow and teach it, you're going to be going, what did you say? And you're going to be making notes like a mad person and getting into the essence and really trying to deeply, deeply understand it. So you've got confidence to stand up in front of those people to teach it the next day. So you end up learning it. And I love that whole process. Even doing, some one-on-ones with our members now, I find that repeating something that I've been teaching for 30 years, I just figured out today a slightly better way to position it so it's more meaningful, more impactful, and hopefully gets into their mind in such a way that it makes it more likely that they'll implement it. So that's the challenge.
Wow. Do you find that, that going back 14 months is a really good example. How you interpreted what you learned in month 1 versus how you interpreted and put into action in month 14 is different. How do you go about teaching someone that? If, let's say, does it change if you think, hey, this person feels like they're at month 1 versus someone who's at month 14? Does it change the way that you teach it, or do you teach it the same and you let them interpret it where they're at?
No, I think, again, that's what I learnt from Phil, the singer, reading the room and all of that sort of stuff. You've got to meet people where they're at. I think it's harder to go the other way. Like if you've been learning and teaching something for a long, long time, and then you're talking to somebody on day one, you've got to go right back to that. Like, I think that there is a concept called standing on the shoulders of giants, where you can speed up your progress by learning from someone who's been there and done that. And I always say to our guys in Black Belt, like, dude, I am the slowest learner in this whole group, because I didn't have the coach, I didn't have the resources, I didn't have all of that stuff.
You didn't have the group around you. Didn't
have the community.
Yeah.
And that's super powerful. And so you've got to meet them where they're at when you're trying to teach somebody. So that kind of forces you back into that, the what I call level 5 listening. Again, 7 habits of highly effective people. Habit 5, first seek to understand, then be understood. Using those skills is really important to coach people. Just before we came here, I was doing a session with our Blueprint members, so that's kind of our entry level, and we were talking about it again, the listening skills, and we've created this little CCC process that we talk about, which is, it's like the habit 5 out of the 7 habits, but we just remember it more effortlessly, again, through talking about it so many times. This evolved, and it's just the 3 C's stand for context, content, and confirmation, which is context is what is the emotion that you're hearing from what the person is communicating. Content is, well, what are they talking about? It could be about, if it's a builder, they're talking about their extension or renovations or the outdoor area or what have you. And then the confirmation is getting confirmation from the person that you're communicating with that they feel that you understand. And that's the critical one, that third one. So what is the feeling? What's the emotion that I'm getting from how you're communicating about what you're communicating about? And then I'm saying, well, so what I'm getting from what you're saying is you're quite frustrated about that thing. Am I right? The confirmation.
Context, content, confirmation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Context, emotion, content, the thing, and then confirmation. Am I getting that right? Do you feel that I understand you? And I think that's the most critical part of this, because people learn how to listen more effectively. But if they don't do that last part, we go, I'm just assuming that I understand you. So here's my diagnosis of your problem, and then it doesn't land. People, people aren't impressed. And it's like it's because they don't feel understood. I'm not sure how we got here. This is
it's a point that one of the guys I listened to, he just pointed out that it's so important to listen and diagnose before you prescribe.
Yeah.
If you liken it to a doctor, if a doctor were to prescribe before diagnosing, that would be malpractice and they'd lose their license.
Yeah.
So it just highlights the importance to do it right and do it well.
Yeah.
And
to be controversial, I think that there's quite a few doctors that do that.
Yeah, that's another rabbit hole we could go down, I'm sure.
I was at the doctor. I haven't been to the doctors for ages, but the last time I went there, she just got on the computer and started Googling. No, it's like, I could have done that at home myself.
Yeah. I spoke to a doctor the other day about this, and just to back the doctors, that because that's a big thing that I've heard a lot as well. And my wife's a doctor, so and she uses Google. The volume of information that they need to retain is just immense, and it's in somewhat like a builder. The volume of information they need to retain is insane. But a builder would still go, when they see a design from an architect, they might need to go and Google and see, okay, what sort of products are out there that allows me to do that? Yeah. And they go, I know that exists, or that concept, I know that. And so then they piece it together. Yeah. But I have heard of doctors even Googling how to put a cast on. So there's a spectrum, I'm sure.
I'd be a bit worried. You're looking over his shoulder.
Wow, okay. So I really like what you outlined there, that idea of, again, that case study of going back 14 months in a row, because you do interpret, and like many people who have read a book more than once would have had that experience, and you read it and go, Mick, are you ready? Did you? How did we miss this last time? Did you? What? This is profound, and it's amazing that you can have that reading the same resource. Yeah. But it's also scary then to go, well, what resource should I be consuming several times versus how do I know, okay, I need to move on to get a hold of this resource. How do you navigate that with your guys?
I just think that it really doesn't matter which way you go. Like, you can dive deep into some sort of resource, and if you find that it's not doing it for you at that stage, where you can make another decision. But I just think it tends to be a big waste of time when you're jumping from one to the next, and what's the next bright shiny object, and I think particularly these days, people looking for the quick fix all the time is a big mistake. One of my members sent me a link to a little app called Pep Talk. So it just sends you a quote every morning, and it's got videos and what have you in it. And there was just this video I was watching this morning, just about all of these uber successful people, Mel Robbins and you name it, they were on it, and David Goggins, etc. And just the message was, if you're trying to become successful easily, it's a dishonest message to send. Like, you've just got to do the reps. You've got to put in the time. And they all talked about years and years and years of doing the stuff that everybody else around you believes is unreasonable, and you've just got to keep doing that. I had a wonderful deep dive into that pressure is a privilege with Stephen Bartlett, Diary of a CEO, and he just uses this really wicked metaphor about climbing Mount Everest. And if you're a builder and you want to build a business that is giving you a certain degree of time freedom and financial freedom, that's your Mount Everest. And if you're going to be climbing Mount Everest, you've got to accept that you've got to do some preparation, you've got to do some training.
Oh yeah.
But the thing that as part of the metaphor that really hit me between the eyes is, on the way, there is no way of getting out of spending a few very dark, very cold, very uncomfortable nights on the side of the mountain. It's part of the journey. You've chosen that journey, therefore you've chosen to go through those dark times. And it could be, you're having challenges with a team, or a project falls over, or you've got an unreasonable client or whatever there. And what we tend to do is, I wish this wasn't happening. And that's a waste of energy, and I don't believe you've learned very much if that is your attitude. I wish this wasn't happening. It's happening. And it's happening for you. It's not happening to you. It's happening for you. You chose the path, and it just dawned on me, like, how powerful is that if you can understand that you've chosen this path and this is part of the journey.
Yeah,
that's okay.
I'm really enjoying this conversation. Good. I feel like we don't even need to get to that stuff. How do you go about teaching the importance of listening to your members?
One of the ways is, particularly when we have the opportunity to do face-to-face, we just play games with it, like a really cool exercise you can go through. It only kind of works the first time. You can't repeat it, but the first time we sort of separate the people and we say to this group, I want you to step outside and I want you to think of the most interesting story that you've ever had in your life, because I want you to tell it to your partner when you come back. So they go outside and they're thinking of their story and what have you. And while they're outside, I'm saying to the people inside, what I want you to do when they come back in is, because we're talking about mirroring and matching body language and all that sort of stuff, I want you to do the opposite. So if their legs are crossed, open your legs. If they're leaning forward, you lean back. That sort of stuff. Don't make any noises that indicate that you're interested. And then we're going to do that for a few minutes while they're telling their story. And then I'm just going to go to the front and I'm going to grab the glass. I'm going to fill it with some water, and that's the signal to change. So once I have my drink, I want you to mirror and match the daylights out of them. Their
so
body
go
language,
from kind of showing disinterest showing interest
to complete interest, but with body language. So it's all
dial it up.
Subconscious. So again, habit 5 and Michael Brooks' instant rapport, things like that will teach you how to mirror and match body language, facial expressions, breathing, heart rate, all of this sort of stuff. You can go really deep with it. So we mismatch and seem like we're disinterested, and then when I have my drink of water, switch it up. So we do that exercise, then we go around the room and ask the people who are telling the story, how did you go? It's really funny listening to them, where they'll, I had this really killer story, and I thought it was really inspirational or funny or whatever it was, and I don't know, I just didn't seem to be getting through, and then I got to this part, and I had them, and I felt like that they were really into the story after I told them this, and then we kind of open up and have the listeners talk about what their job was. And it's just very, very funny when people go, "Oh, really?" You know, they were thinking it was, they became more interested or interesting all of a sudden. But it's funny how the person telling the story can feel listened to, and so the people weren't listening any more or less. All they were doing were changing their behaviour around listening, and so it just teaches them that. How do you feel when you're not being listened to? So therefore, somebody who thinks they're listening and they've got the intent to listen, but they haven't practiced the behaviour of level 5 listening, you know, with the 3 C's and the body language mirroring and matching, that sort of stuff. It's interesting to experience what it feels like not being listened to. What did you feel like with as far as connection and rapport? And they go, yeah. So it's not about finding a solution for the person, you know, for the builder client who's telling me that, you know, that they haven't got enough room or the place is falling down around them or what have you. It's not about, well, I can fix that and we can build you this. It's about, really, tell me more about that, and how does that affect you, and how would you like it to be, and just having them feel like you really understand their story without judgment, without advice. It's a very, very powerful set of skills to be able to help people more, because you can. I always say to our guys and anyone who stands still long enough to listen that your product isn't the house you build, the renovation, the extension. Your product is the quality of their experience. That's what it is. And so you can be the best builder in the world and have done it on budget and done it on time, and then someone visits that house and speaks to the customer a year later and they go, "How was it?" And they go, "Meh," you know. And that person is no good to your business. They're hardly a raving fan. Whereas if you listen and with the intent to understand, not to advise, not to give solutions or anything like that, throughout the process, throughout the project, I guarantee you at the end of it, when that person is asked what was building like, and they're not going to go around and say, "Have a look at the quality of these miters," like they're just not going to do that. They're going to say, "This builder was awesome." And particularly if there was a problem and you don't try and get out of the problem and say, "It's not my fault, it was weather or it was the supplier or this, that," you own it and you understand their frustration or their anger from their perspective, and you don't try and, you know, rationalise your way out of it. You deal with it. You fix the problem. Own it. They'll be your fan. They'll be a massive fan, and they'll be a part of your marketing team thereafter, and be telling everybody about how wonderful you are. So, you know, listening, absolutely. If it's not one of the most, it's the most critical skill, I think, for a builder or any business owner, really, because it's all about other people. It's about your prospects, or the clients, or your subcontractors, or your team members, or your suppliers. If you can build rapport and have them feel like you understand them, a whole raft of problems will disappear that you'll never have to deal with. Big pause.
Big pause. Well, what you said was very powerful. And I think there's a lot of people out there. I speak to a lot of builders, and I think that is a skill set that is hugely undervalued. I mean, we help in the sense of, let's try and help you convey and communicate that feeling of that experience prior to them meeting you. but we can't be in the room. You can't be in the room with your guys and say, hey, you really ought to listen, ask them questions, show more interest. Don't just say, yep, we can do it. Yep, yeah, no problem.
Apparently
yeah,
I
no
am,
problem.
though. Some of them tell me that they could hear my voice.
That's fantastic. On what shoulder do you sit, Mick?
Yeah, I don't know whether I'm the good guy or the bad guy.
You should be quiet, Mick.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is so true. And it is always good to be reminded of that. I first came across that concept in Dale Carnegie's book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. And the example he uses there was at a dinner party. People were there and someone was talking to a gentleman afterwards and said, "Oh, how was your evening?" "Oh, fantastic. I really enjoyed this person. They were a fantastic conversationalist." I feel like in the old times where that was your entertainment, throw a party so we can have conversations. Carnegie just pointed out that the reason why that's what the guy interpreted as being that guy was a fantastic conversationalist. It was a wonderful evening. It was just because that person was the most interested person in the room. They just showed genuine interest and just asked questions and talk about themselves. And that changed that person's whole experience of the evening and how much they liked this person. Yeah.
Lost art, I think, unfortunately. I think it's getting less and less airplay, like the importance of this sort of thing. And I guess, the younger generations were kind of influenced a lot by screens and speaking to people digitally rather than face to face.
Fast.
And they get answers. Hey Siri, I better not say that. I said that on the phone the other day, and she said yeah, and she kept asking me what I wanted. But you can get that answer really, really quickly, and with the advent of AI and listening to all of the thought leaders in relation to how we're underestimating the impact of AI, my prediction, for what it's worth, and I'm no Nostradamus, but I really feel that with the advent of AI and automation, all that sort of stuff, people are going to automate and AI the crap out of everything, and there's going to be an absolute longing for face-to-face interaction. And I think the businesses in the future that understand the distinction of how to use automation and AI to be able to get all of the back-end stuff done as effectively as possible, to free themselves up to spend as much face-to-face time with their clients without urgency, sitting down on the lounge, wearing it out, having a coffee with them, and no, I've got to go, none of that stuff. I think those businesses are going to really thrive because there's going to be this massive vacuum of face-to-face and interpersonal interaction. And, we're pack animals. We can't get away from that. So, sure, use AI, go berserk, but use it for the purposes of freeing you up to spend more time with your prospects, more time with your clients, more time with your team members, more time with your subcontractors. Get into it.
Yeah, I could not agree more. We spoke the other day on some content about this idea of AI. It's just been pushing. And so now you've got, if you think of it like a cycling race, your that front pack of that front peloton is now so big. AI can put a lot of people in that front pack.
Yeah.
Whether it be running business, automations, autoresponders on emails and content creation, and there's a lot of people there with lots of flashiness. The ability to stand out is going to be how personal can you make that experience for someone.
Yeah. But my suspicion is still that the people that stand out will be people who think about stuff rather than giving over all of the control to ChatGPT for all of their answers and things like that. I noticed that we're talking about music earlier on, and we're talking to the lads before we set up about how I was involved in audio production back in the day when editing was a razor blade and tape, and you had to go and find the edit point and cut it and join it together. And I've seen a lot of changes. And so now we can produce a song if we're using actual musical instruments and what have you on a laptop in an untreated room and all of that sort of stuff, and you can get a really incredible result. And now you don't even need that. At least you can just go, AI, I've got this concept, write me a song, and within 2 minutes you've got 2 versions of a song with lyrics and all that sort of stuff. But to me, it's the thought process and the emotion and everything that's gone into the prompt or the question that you're asking in the first place. It's going to create the quality of the outcome, and I think that's going to be the same. So people who still believe that the quality of the client's experience and are doing everything that they can to improve that are going to be the ones that succeed. You can automate the daylights out of everything so you don't have to do anything, and you've got all the time off that you want. I don't think that business will last long.
No, and there won't be any satisfaction, I don't think.
No, that's the other thing, you know. There's a lot of satisfaction and fulfillment in creativity and being presented with a problem and figuring it out yourself, rather than, you know, ChatGPT or AI or whatever, can you solve my problem? I think you can use them to help, clarify, give me ideas, but in the end you've got to make the decision and you've got to own it.
Yeah, and I think what you said earlier, we are pack animals, and I think a big part of satisfaction comes from connecting with people. I think there's a lot of studies around that show that, butcher the words, but satisfaction in life, a large piece of that comes from being, feeling valued, feeling connected, being a part of a community, putting your feet on grass.
It's absolutely critical. I mean, the biggest leaps forward with our members are in our face-to-face sessions. So we have like a training day once every 90 days, and we have an intensive once a year, which is now going to be a 3-day thing. It was a 2-day. And
people just wanted more face-to-face.
Huh?
People just wanted more face-to-face.
Yeah, well, I guess, but like they would fly, we'd go somewhere like Darwin or Perth, or we're in Queenstown, New Zealand last year. For 2 days, it seems like a lot of effort for just 2 days, and also like people are in a sort of rhythm and energy when they first arrive because they've been in that work rhythm. Yeah. And now they're not, and it takes a little while to wind down, and it takes a little while to relax and open up and get into the flow of what we're talking about. And I just felt like we were really getting there at the end of day 2, and then we go, see you next year. So what we've done this year, or what we're doing this year, is adding an extra day to it. So when we get to that point at the end of day 2, day 3, everyone is going to be really on fire and in the flow, and I think day 3 is going to be awesome. But the interesting thing was, coming from doing presentations and speeches and all that sort of stuff over the last 30 odd years, I always thought that the value of a training session was what I was saying. But it's not. The real value is in the conversations that they have at morning tea and lunch and the dinner afterwards and all of that sort of stuff. And so it's bizarre now that when I'm doing our intensive, I absolutely stick to time, because I want to make sure the breaks are as long as possible. So the breaks are far more critical to me in those 3-day intensives than the training sessions themselves.
That's really valuable to hear, and I'm really glad I heard that, because I don't have the data necessarily to show that, but that is something that, because I've been chatting with the team about hopefully running an event in the near future, to bring guys together to obviously improve themselves and get some good thinkers there and try and run the day more of like, let's have more panels up front where guys sitting down can ask questions. So there's this back and forth conversation going on. And after every one of those, then there's almost a break. Or now let's talk about it. You know, what did that mean to you?
Yeah.
Like you said, are you at month 1 or are you month 14? How did you interpret that?
Yeah. I don't even think you need to do that. I just let them go. Like I've kept threatening the guys, and maybe I'll do it. But I said I could just book the room for 3 days, and not turn up. I'll just organise the catering, and book the room, and you guys spend 3 days together. I bet you it would be wicked. I bet you it would be awesome. So you don't even need to prompt them the discussions or think about that or talk about that or anything like that. You just put them in a room together, and it's extraordinary. And how I know that is at the end of every session that we've ever done. You know, after 2 days or what have you, we just always go around the room and go, what's your highlight? What's your biggest takeaway from? You know, and I'm sitting there waiting for them to say the thing that I said.
What you said on the afternoon of day 1,
What
Mick.
you said on session 3 on the first day. And I hardly ever get a mention. It's like, well, when Paul, I was at lunch with Paul, and Paul said, and you go around the room and it's like, what happened at morning tea, what happened at lunch, and when we went out to dinner, or when we were riding the mechanical bull, or that sort of stuff. That they're the highlights. They're the things that they remember. They're the things that influence them. And I was talking to so-and-so about that, and they said that they had this little resource and they've sent it to me, and it's changed everything. Wow. You know, and it's like, what am I doing here? I'm kind of just the conductor and bringing the community together and paying for the catering, you know, that sort of stuff.
And there's a huge need for that. If you think of it, a band needs a conductor.
Yeah. But they need to get together. The band needs to get together as well. And, you know.
Definitely, it is good to sometimes, what do you call it when jazz guys just...
Jam.
You know, sometimes it's good to just jam, you know, totally. But also
the best
good
stuff comes out of jamming.
Yeah.
And in fact, you know, I'm still a muso now, and I'm sometimes asked, I play in a little trio, and sometimes asked to go to rehearsal, and I say, no. I'm not coming to rehearsal. If you can have a jam, I'll turn up, but not rehearsal.
All right, so if we invite Mick to a rehearsal, we'll just call it a jam.
Just call it a jam, and I'll be happy.
We're just jamming. Mick, I think it might be good to jump in. There are 3 key things I want to go through with you when it comes to Builder's Business Blackbelt.
Yep.
That I think my research has really stood out, and it's areas I'm passionate about, and passionate about our audience learning. If there's anything additional you want to touch on, but please guide conversation there. Before we do that, can you give it? We've been jumping around and dabbling on,
haven't we?
When it comes to what you do, can you give me an overview of what it is that you do and what you've created for the industry and for your guys?
I think that the thing I'm most proud of creating is the community that we were just talking about. And I think after 35 years of business coaching and 10 or nearly 11 years just in the building industry, just recently coming up with a really simplified approach to it, because I'm just really identifying that there's so much information out there that the information is overwhelming. And there is a deep desire out there to get the system, to get the tool, to get the platform that's going to fix things.
That'll change it all.
And people have those things. So people find those things. They find the automation, they find the platform, they find the software, all that sort of stuff. And it's still a show. Because there's a piece before that needs to be addressed, and that is the chaos within. Mm-hmm. And until and unless you learn to manage yourself more effectively and continue to do that, like make that the lifelong journey. All of the rest of those things are just tools, and they really won't make that much difference. So I think what I do now with Black Belt is we've definitely got a massive emphasis on continually learning how to better manage yourself, and there's a big focus on finding out what your why is and finding out what your purpose is. And it may more than likely have absolutely nothing to do with your building business. So your building business becomes a platform that gives you the time, freedom, and the financial wherewithal to chase your passion. But, you know, you were struggling for a word a little while ago, which I think the best word is fulfillment. Like your heart's full. Mm-hmm. It just feels right, and it feels good when you're involved in this, doing this, connected to this. And my observations are that most builders and other business owners, the only purpose that they've got in their head is to get more, you know, more work, more jobs, more time off, more profit. And my question is, what for? Like, what do you do that? Because what drives me in relation to this, and I get quite passionate about it, because almost emotional about it, because I always go back to this one conversation I had with a friend who is no longer with us, and he was a multi-millionaire, and I came across him. He was a client of mine many years ago. He came to one of our first time management sessions years ago, and I became really quite close friends with him. And he had a number of businesses, and he had more money than we could all spend in a couple of lifetimes. And I remember sitting on his multi-squillion-dollar boat up on the flybridge, and we were just talking about life. And this big man, big successful man who had everything, was just in tears, just distraught about how his life had turned out, and how the relationships he had with his children were just so toxic, and just he was just regretting all of the things that he didn't do with his family and all of that sort of stuff, because he was always more. You know, we've got to get more business and increase the business and increase the profit, and then you get to a certain point in your life where you go, well, you know, how much more can I have, and where's the meaning in it? Like, at some stage in your life, you get to that point where you start to think about meaning. You know, earlier on in your life, you're thinking about girls or cars or whatever, and then family and business and success and all of that sort of stuff. But at some stage, you start to have those deeper thoughts about meaning. And so just having that experience with that guy always reminds me to talk to our members about, what are you doing this for? And the really cool thing about this is, if your objective is to be more profitable and have more free time, the chances of you getting there are really remote. And then every so often when somebody does get there, and some of our members have experienced this, they get there, they don't need to be at their work anymore, and they've got plenty of money, and they're just lost. And it's a really that problem tends to be a more emotionally impactful problem than the problems they were dealing with when they were building their business. Like, it's a massive problem. And so if that's your objective, you probably won't get there. But if you start to figure out what you're really here for, what's your purpose, and to be able to have the time and the wherewithal to chase your purpose, I need to build this system, this business that is going to give me the time and money freedom. Then this business has a purpose. But if the purpose is just more, I think that's very detrimental to a person's mental and emotional health eventually. So I'm not sure whether I'm answering your question, but that's what we're building and have built with Blackbelt.
I think you've answered it beautifully. Rather than telling me it's this and it's this online thing and it's this, okay. You've told me the real essence of it and really what it's about and the purpose of it. I like that.
Yeah, it's just I just get reminded of that every time, I go to a funeral or whatever, and at this age and stage of life, I seem to be invited to more funerals than weddings or 21st. But it just gives you that time to sit and think and going, what are we doing this for? I also remember a story that Tony Robbins told, and it was a true story about a business man at Tony's Island in Fiji, and they're doing obviously a high-level business workshop, and on a break the businessman went out, sat on the beach in one of the breaks and was sitting next to one of the local Fijians, and the Fijian sort of said, what are you doing? What are you doing here? And he said, well, I'm in there learning how to build a better business. And the Fijian kept asking, well, what are you doing that for, or why do you want to do that? Long story short, he wanted to build a better business that gave him more profit and this, that and the other, to give him the freedom, because he wants to come and sit on the beach and relax. And the Fijian just looked at him with complete confusion and going, he just didn't understand why you needed to do all of that to do this, because I'm doing that now. I don't have a business. I'm just sitting on the beach relaxing. And it's like, makes you start to think, what are we doing all of this for? It's such an important question to be asking yourself very, very regular. It's trying to identify what your purpose is, because if you can start to get a sense of what it is, it transforms your energy and your commitment to do the things that need to be done to build the business that you want to build anyway. But now there's a reason for it. So the stuff that you don't like doing, that you'll probably come up with reasons not to do, you will do, because you see it as a cold, dark, uncomfortable night on the side of the mountain, and of your chosen path. So it's just not all about systems and processes. And like, I agree with them. I do them. I pay a considerable amount of money to have them built and maintained, and it's really important. But why? What's the purpose? More deep thinking.
I'm just reading some content recently that reminded me the importance of when someone shares something like that. You've given a lot of time and thought and energy and of your life to landing it with this conclusion. It's worth soaking it in.
Thinking is highly underrated. It was a couple of years ago I was put on to, what was it? It's not The Road Less Travelled. I can't remember. It's something along those lines. But Keith Cunningham was the author. But at the end of each chapter, he'd say, "Now go think. You'll thank me later." And he talks about having scheduled thinking time, no less than 2, no more than 3 a week of about an hour, and having no expectation of a solution or an outcome or an idea, and just thinking time. You can have a theme of what you're thinking about, and you have a special thinking place. So if you're into NLP and understand anchoring and all that sort of stuff, this makes a lot of sense. So you have a special chair that you only ever sit in when you're thinking. You have a special pad that you only ever write on when you're thinking. You have a special pen that you only ever use when you're thinking. And you have these time blocks of thinking. and it's a little bit similar principle to while we're adding a third day to the intensive. It takes a while that you sit down and go, right, thinking time. And your thoughts are going 10 to the dozen, and the key is not having an expectation and not getting the with yourself if you can't concentrate or whatever. You're allowed to think about whatever you think about. It's almost like a meditation.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because when I sit and think, it's the hardest time to think.
Yeah.
As opposed to no expectation, doing something else.
Yeah.
But I guess being subconscious of something I want to think about.
Yeah, but the key is giving yourself the space to get to the point where you can start to think deeply without the distraction and all that sort of stuff. And depending on the freneticism that is normally in your mind, it's going to determine how long that takes. I'm finding, because I've been doing quite a lot of, I've been violating Keith's, no more than 3 rule. I'm doing it every day. But the more you do it, the easier and the quicker you seem to fall into that space where you can think without the freneticism going on in your mind. And even listening to, and I was a part of Dan Sullivan's coaching group for some time, he will have whole days set aside for that.
At the events you'd attend, or him
No,
personally?
Himself personally.
Okay.
And he recommends you just have a day where there is zero expectation of achieving anything. And you just sit and you think, and you can do a bit of reading or you can do a bit of watching or whatever, but because it takes so long to get into that flow where it's like the third day on the intensive, like it's taken us 2 days to get there, and then we went home. So we're not going to do that anymore.
Interesting you mentioned this taking a few days to get into it. And I would imagine you guys, this is my hour to think. And for the first, I don't know how long, I imagine the first time you do your first hour, you might not think at all. It'll be pretty messy.
You do, but it's
and you got to train that habit. Have you ever heard of the business called Unyoked?
No. I'm learning so much in this conversation.
Really well thought out company, well thought out offering. In its simplest format, they put tiny houses on farms, and then they pay a fee to the farmer, and the farmer also helps manage it in terms of cleaning it and that, and they get a fee. But they've simplified the entire fit out, as simple as you can get it, but it's nice. It's natural fibers. And then their whole marketing and messaging is about getting time away to think, getting time away. But it's really they really understand their people, and they listen to feedback. They're constantly sending emails asking for feedback. Why did you go? And then you enter a little bit, and 6 months later, or 3 months later, you get an email going, we recently did a survey, and we found that a large portion of our guests staying in these getaways did so for a milestone in their life, or to reconnect with a loved one or their partner, just you read that, you think, I want that again. I want to go. But they are very clever in preparing you for your getaway, because you might often only go for 2 nights. How do you get into that flow faster? And so they start getting you warmed up and start telling you, kind of planting the seed and watering as to why you're going. You're going to detach. You're going, and you can choose and say, I want to choose a place. I tick the box, no cell reception. So that they're emailing you beforehand, they're texting you, just preparing you, very well written copy. You park your car. The address is a pin drop. You just put that in your map, and they send that to you, 4 days, 5 days prior. Then you drive out there, and little signs. You don't talk to anyone, just little signs saying go this way on the property. Park here. there's your wheelbarrow, and there's your flashlight. And then you got to put your bags, whatever you need, get away from your car, get away, and then you hike or walk, across the property. And you can never see from where you park. You can never see the tiny house, and it might be 500 meters, it might be a kilometer. You don't know, and you just go. And by the time you get there, they've already fast tracked this slowing down, detaching. You get there, and there's a little, A7 that might be field note, little piece, a little journal, pencil. There's a cassette player, only 4 tapes. So there's no decision fatigue. Just choose 4. There's no Netflix. I can't choose what I want. Just 4. There's just those knives. There's just that coffee, a grinder. You can percolate or you can filter. Tea, just really well thought out. And it's amazing how fast, almost by the first evening, you've just, whoa. That was, a profound experience. So we try and go back there once a year.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So I'm really excited to hear from you regarding that third day, what your members start to experience for that third day.
Me too.
Yeah.
So it's next month. So we'll be going over to Perth. So I'll let you know.
Yeah.
I'm a bit excited about it. And I've kind of got a plan for it, but I don't know that you need a plan for it. By the time you're sort of in that flow, it kind of goes where it needs to go. And people get out of it what they need to get out of it. So it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah. I've attended some great conferences, masterminds, where you get there and everyone just enjoys getting, just mingling again and asking how you're going. Like, oh, how long have you been apart? Oh, awesome. Have you? And just that. And then that might be, let's say, on the Friday. And then on the Saturday morning, the person running it just says, what are you guys dealing with? Write it down, write it down, write it down. And we just go through that. Who's dealt with that before? Yeah, what have you, and it's been some of the best conferences. One of the topics I want to jump into with you.
You said you had 3.
I had 3. This is the first one. This idea of free quotes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this is, old news to you. And I heard a stat recently that it sounds like there's a good portion of the industry moving towards paid quotes, but that still leaves, I think it was, 51, 52% or something like that now doing paid quotes of the portion.
That's awesome.
But there's still a huge amount of people out there that aren't. And I still talk to guys things are challenging. I lost the last couple. I really need to get something in. I'll just do it free. Talk to me about what you've seen, what your perspective is on the free quote. Because there's still guys that will beat the drum and say, no, I have to. I get laughed at if I try and ask for a price. So.
Yeah, it's one of the most frustrating things that I think that we ever cover, and there's so much to it. But just from a logical point of view, I just don't understand. So I don't understand why a builder would allow this to happen, but I also don't understand why a client would expect it. I kind of understand how it's happened. And so back in the day, I remember interviewing one of our black belt members years ago, and I was just had him on video and talking about this, that and the other, and he said, I'd like to find the bloke who came up with this whole free quotes thing and punch him in the face. But then he paused and he said, but I can kind of understand how it happened. And this is where I learnt a bit as well. He said, because his dad was a builder and he built about 70 homes in his career. And back in the day, it was the same sort of brick, it was the same sort of hardwood frames, the same sort of roofing material, same sort of design. There wasn't anywhere near the council requirements and all of the compliance that happens today, and no soil testing or bushfire rating and all that sort of stuff. So you could go, well, how big's your house, mate? How big do you want your house? And you go, square metres, 2 stories, whatever. And like over a beer at the pub, you could probably write a very accurate quote on the back of a napkin and go, there you go. And when do you want us to start? And so there wasn't a lot of effort required into being able to quote back then, but that was a long time ago. And since then, things have changed a lot, and the either building design or architectural requirements, the compliance, the safety, the swims, like fencing, harnesses, it's just crazy what a builder has to deal with these days. And there's so many different options for how you would do things, or different options for fittings and fixtures and all of that sort of stuff. So a lot of effort and time and experience and knowledge has to go into putting something together. And so I can understand how it started, but I don't understand why it's still continuing, because you're fundamentally asking someone with a lot of intellectual property, a lot of knowledge and experience, to put sometimes 40 hours of their time into something that they can give to you, and you'll go, no. And it's like, you can do the no bit, but you've got to pay for all of the documentation that you're saying no to. And
you need to pay to be able to make an informed no or yes.
You're going to make an informed decision. And the way that I position it, or encourage people to position it, is all we're really doing, and if you prepare and consider everything at the start, there are going to be far less problems, far less things that are costly, that were unexpected, because we're preparing and thinking and considering everything. And that takes time and experience and knowledge. And so you're investing in that. I just hit the microphone stand. You're investing in that. And so how I tend to position it, or suggest builders position it, is there is an overall cost for this project. And all we're simply doing to ensure that our overall cost is understood and can be adhered to is taking a small amount of that overall cost, and we're going to invest it in planning and preparation right at the start of the project, and we can make some decisions to prevent costly problems down the track at this point. And so, in effect, it's an insurance policy to ensure that your project will stay within budget and won't blow out. Because, I mean, what often happens with free is the builder doesn't know whether they're going to get the job. So they're not really prepared to put a massive amount of effort into it. So there's a fair bit of guesswork. So you'll get PC and PS items in your quote, which creates wiggle room for the builder. And then the other mistake that they'll make is that quote will get accepted. What's gone into the prospect or the client's brain is that's how much it's going to cost. And in their brain already is, I'm going to get that sort of vanity and that sort of tap and that sort of handrail and all of that sort of stuff. And then when it comes to getting that vanity or that handrail or those taps, there's a variation. So I only allowed for that quality, but you want that quality. So that's going to be more. And they get upset about that. But again, a mistake that many builders make is that they accumulate those variations and give them all the variations at the end.
Yeah.
And it's like, let's say you've done an awesome job and you've built an awesome home and given them everything that they wanted, but now they didn't expect this. You might even have the paperwork to prove that they agreed to it and all that sort of stuff, but it doesn't matter. Their perception is, you've ripped me off, or whatever. They've got a horrible taste in their mouth, and now that whole project's been tarred with that brush. You've done 99% everything right, and that one last thing put a bad taste in their mouth, and no referrals, bad mouthing, maybe legal, chasing after the last payment, all of that sort of stuff. And I just think that apart from anything else, that if you say, I'll do this for free up front, that is setting the expectation of more free down the track. So that's why that you have all of these problems with variations and what have you.
That's a good point.
I would even suggest that right up front, we position it like we're taking a bit of money out of the whole thing. We're going to put it in here and plan and prepare, and it's going to be really great. And let's really work hard on making our decisions now, because if you want to change in the future, there's going to be an additional cost to that. And I would prepare their expectations and help them to understand what a variation process looks like. And it's like a new mini project. So if you want to move that wall, that's cool. We can assess that, we can analyse that and all that sort of stuff. There's a fee that you need to pay for us to do that, because it's a whole nother new project in effect. If you think about it, if I've given you the price for the project and I'm working there, I'm doing what I've been paid to do, and then our mate from across the road walks across and says, "Can you come and have a look at my place? I need a wall knocked out and a this, that and the other," and you stop work there and go over there. What does the customer that's paying you feel about that? Do they, are they happy that you've just walked off the job and you're not doing their work anymore and you're going looking at somebody else's? Effectively, a variation is no different to that. We've agreed on a price for me to do this work, and now you're distracting me. You're taking me away from doing that work. And the client thinks that's okay, because that's how the expectations were set up in the first place, because I'll do all of this work for free.
Yeah.
And there's no one that you can talk to these days that if you say, if your boss rang you up and said, "Look, I need you to come in and do 40 hours overtime this week. I can't pay you, but would you do it?" How many people are going to go, "Yeah, sure"? And like, no one. No one's going to do it. But that's what the client is asking the builder. I always remember there's one of our black belt members some years ago who rang me up and told me this story where he was talking with a prospect, and they were kind of an hour and a half apart. And I encourage, if it's a full-blown house or something, I encourage the first conversation, apart from the phone conversations, the first meeting, to either be in neutral territory or in the builder's territory, in their office or what have you. And so our guy was sort of said, we need to have our initial meeting. I can do it on this time, which would suit you best. Here's the address where you come and meet me. And a couple of days before the meeting was scheduled, the client rang up and said, "I've been thinking about this, and I'm not driving all the way out to see you to discuss this project, because I don't know whether I'm even going to give the project to you yet, and me driving all the way out there is going to take a lot of time, and time's money, mate."
Did the member just click record, stop, rewind, play, the guy?
And it's like, yeah, that's my point.
Yeah.
Time is money. That's why you're coming to see me.
Yeah.
And I don't understand how some of these people think that they want somebody who has incredible skills, incredible knowledge to guide them and protect them and support them through the project. And I want you to do it for free.
Doesn't make sense.
Go to the dentist and say, "Look, can you just do the whole exam and tell me what needs to be done? Give me a quote. I'll get back to you as to whether you get the work." See how many dentists come right in.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just have this deep, deep desire to somehow impact the building industry to become more professional. Mm-hmm. Like, what pains me more than anything is some of our members say, we got the job because we were the only one that called back. Like, the bar for professionalism is so low, it's ridiculous. So folks listening to this, looking down the barrel of the camera, don't set your bar just higher than that. Like, it's
so low.
Let's like blow their socks off with an incredible experience and professionalism and under promising and over delivering. Like just make that your purpose and get your team involved and ask them how we can do it. How can we blow our clients' socks off this week?
On a practical sense, one thing that I often come across in our team, as we're having our catch-ups with our builders, we always liked hearing their feedback. Obviously, what a conversation sounded like with these people you're talking to. What are they saying that they resonated with what they saw, and then one thing I've often found is the guys who try to transition to this getting paid for a quote or getting paid as a consultant in those early stages, or they struggle with articulating it. And sometimes I've had conversations with guys, they're like, yeah, I tell them I charge. Okay, that's good. And how they respond? They say no. And I say, just pretend I'm a fly on the wall. Tell me what exactly you tell them. I say, okay, if you want to go ahead, we charge a fee for the price to present a quote. I said, you say it like that? Yeah. Okay. So I'm
starting to understand.
There we go. On a practical sense, how can there's so much to the sales. One of our guys gave feedback from a builder they spoke to yesterday. He was like, yeah, so we can pay for the quote. I'll give you some information on it. And then you just come back to me. Like, there's no process. There's no, what's the next step?
Yeah.
Invite them to the next, there's lots there. But maybe if you can help some of the guys listening to this with a real practical sense of how do you begin to articulate it when you stand there in front of a prospective client?
The first thing is we've got to separate that old process from a new process. So it needs to be presented as if it's different, as if it's new. And so I don't encourage the word quote anymore. I tend to encourage to label a professionally prepared proposal. You get lots of plosives and spit everywhere when you're saying it, but that's
I love
how
it. It's the passion.
That's right. Plosives mean passion. I think the best way to explain it is you have your favourite restaurant, and you always go to this restaurant, and it's great. Prices are reasonable, cool, nice people. And then one day you go to your restaurant and the prices are 25% more expensive. It's not so much my favourite restaurant anymore. It was good. It represented value back then, but all they've done is they've raised the prices. And to me, that's the equivalent of going, we used to do free quotes, now we charge for them.
It's hard to compare.
Are you happy with that? And it's like, no, I'm not. I'm going to go to the dude who does it for free because you're offering me exactly the same thing. Versus you go to your favourite restaurant and this time you turn up and the person out the front says, Mr. Jones, it's great to have you back. We've made some changes. I'd love to get your thoughts, after you've experienced the changes you've made. So they take you to the table and he says that we've got a new chef and he's now sourcing all of these organic ingredients. We've got a sommelier who then comes and gives you advice to match the wine. We've got old mate over there in the corner plunking away on his guitar for some nice music. We've updated the decor a bit, made some more comfortable chairs. The menu is very, very different, and it's got a focus on a more sort of healthy eating, but we don't want to compromise taste. So we've done all of that work, and I'd really be interested in your experience on the way out. And so you experience it and it's absolutely wicked, and you go pay for it, and the prices are 25% higher than what they were before, and you go, this is awesome. Like, you're paying more money, but the value you're getting is significantly more. And so you can't just go say we're now charging for what we used to do for free. And it's like, well, why? We're not doing that anymore. We're doing something very different. We've got this thing called a professionally prepared proposal, and this is what we do. And this is how it protects you, and these are the benefits that you get. So it can't be anything about the builder. It has to be everything from the prospect's point of view, how it saves them time, how it saves them money, how it saves them angst, and how it increases the enjoyability factor of this project. Like, that's so important.
How it helps them make a confident, informed decision.
But also enjoy the process. Like, how important is that? It's like you're building this home and you've been planning and making decisions. It's like, why does it need to be the most stressful thing you've ever done? Why shouldn't it be the most exciting thing that creates massive enthusiasm that you've ever done? And I often say to our guys, it's like, the best thing you can do to try and get this point across is go and buy a box set of DVDs showing my age again of Grand Designs. Any country, any season, doesn't matter. I've watched them all, and I think in 13 or 14 seasons over 3 countries, 2 projects ever out of all of those seasons have ever come in on time and on budget. Every single other project has either taken longer or cost more, and in some cases 500% longer on the timeline and 500% more on the cost. Like, some of them are blown out massively. And if you watch all the episodes and notice what's going on, it's all because it was project management. It was the complete absence of project management, of planning, of preparation, and figuring things out way before you did them. And that's what the builder does. If they've got a good team, and they have been able to recruit their subcontractors into this philosophy and way of thinking as well. And in fact, what I believe should happen is if I'm putting a professionally prepared proposal together for you, I've got to allow in that cost everything that it's going to take me, and I need to pay my electrician and my plasterer and my plumber and my concrete guy and roofer. I need to pay them for their knowledge and their experience that they put into the price that they give me. So we're 100% confident that they're going to do it for that. We put it all together, happy days. Then there's no argument, there's no variation. And particularly if you're having conversations with your team, and I include subcontractors in the team, if you're having conversations all the time about our product, guys, is the quality of our client's experience, and you engage your subcontractors into contributing to prioritise the client's experience, because the build quality doesn't matter. That's a given. It's got to be high. But it's not a benefit. It just is.
Yeah.
So how do we stand out? How do we really get our clients to feel that this was awesome value? By blowing their minds every week with some other unexpected thing. And the bar is set so low, you don't have to do much. And it can be profound. But it's enjoyable as well. Like, if everyone in the team is getting around scheming and plotting for this surprise, you know, and it can be as simple as, and I used to use this as an example, and a few of our guys have done it and got awesome feedback from it, because we don't call it the build, we call it the deliver plus process. So what that means is the very first thing that we've got to do is deliver on our clients' expectations. To do that, you've got to understand what they are. I mean, not rocket science, but just by doing that, it's profoundly powerful. By having your client believe that you understand what their expectations are and you showing them how you're fulfilling that. So that's the deliver part. The plus part is the surprise, and that is, how can we surprise them with behaviour and actions that have them thinking, how did they remember that? Or have them feeling that, man, these people listen at such a deep level. And it can be as simple as the husband, for instance, you might have found out through casual chat previously that they're a bit of a golf tragic or whatever. And so what you might do one time is go get a golf magazine and rip an article out of the golf magazine. Don't give them the whole magazine. Rip the article out, rip it out, don't cut it out, and fold it up, put it in an envelope, and next time you see them, you say, hey, I remember you're a bit of a golf nut. I saw this the other day, immediately thought you would get value from it. Have a look at that. And hand them the article and walk away. Don't make a big thing out of it. Mic drop, walk away. And then you could go, you know, if you see the wife next time, I remember you telling me little Janie was like mad keen on gymnastics. I saw this, you know, thing the other day. I thought she might like that. Can you give it to her, you know? So, and they're going, how the hell do these builders remember that we were interested in that sort of stuff? But it shows that you're paying attention to them, not their project. It's just about understanding them and making them feel and remember that they've been understood.
That example feeds very, very well into the second piece I want to discuss with you, which is the whole value versus price. That there is an example of huge value.
Yeah.
In terms of the experience that the client has, the journey that they go on. But how do you help your guys understand? Because we talk about all that value behind closed doors that they don't ever know. Yeah. Some of it they'll never know because, you know, you're that duck on the water with the legs going like this, but they're getting this beautiful experience on top. And so some of that stuff they don't really need to know. That's what they're paying you to take care of. But there's a lot of value behind closed doors that a prospective client won't ever even comprehend or know about until they're working with you. How do you help your guys communicate and convey to help the client understand some of that? So that
during the project or prior to the project?
Prior to signing the project.
Prior, I'm going to sort of sound like I'm repeating myself, but I just don't know of anything that actually delivers the experience of more value than listening with the intent to understand. I just can't believe how many times I've been told from people where they just didn't call back or didn't turn up when they said they would and didn't phone and all of that sort of stuff. So being professional and always looking for, and again, this is from the 7 Habits, always looking for opportunities to put deposits in the emotional bank account. And you, the instant that you meet somebody, you have an emotional bank. You've opened up an emotional bank account with them. And
is
so, what are deposits?
Is that from Stephen Covey?
Yeah. 7 Habits.
Yeah.
You open up that emotional bank account, and you're always looking for opportunities to put in deposits. And deposits are, you know, the under promising and over delivering, showing up when you said you would. That sort of thing. Listening, like we've been talking about, is a profound deposit. You've just got to be careful that you don't think you've put in a deposit that's actually a withdrawal. And the whole idea behind an emotional bank account is that you're putting in deposits, because in a building project, something's going to go wrong. It's not if, it's when. You know, the windows are late or something happens or it rains or what have you. And it doesn't matter if it's not your fault. You'll be in the crosshairs, even if they say, oh, it's not your fault. Thinking bloody builder. So you're in the crosshairs, which means that a considerable withdrawal is happening.
Imminent.
And so have I got enough balance in there to handle that withdrawal? If there's lots and lots of deposits and there's considerable withdrawal, there's still a reasonable balance in your bank account. All good. Yeah. Lots of forgiveness to go around. Happy days. But if you haven't been doing that and there's hardly any deposits in there and a big withdrawal comes and it's not even within your control, you're overdrawn. So now they're looking for every little thing to complain about. And it quite often ends up in the courts. It quite often ends up legal. And it could have just been avoided with putting deposits in the emotional bank account. And so hopefully people listening to this are starting to understand it's very little to do with the building. Building a successful building business has got very little to do with the building. Yet 99.9% of their time and their day gets the attention, the building stuff, the on-site stuff, the administration stuff, rather than thinking about what are we doing here? Like, what's the purpose of our business? What actually is our product?
How's the client feeling on this experience so far?
Are we talking to the team on a regular basis to keep them focused on understanding what our product is? Because if they're leaving lying around there and the dogs are barking and they're swearing and all that sort of stuff, what's the neighbour's experience of that? And does the neighbour talk to the client? Or if it's a renovation, do the clients hear you swearing and carrying on and all of that sort of stuff? We need to be more professional. You can't be doing that sort of stuff anymore.
Yeah.
So, the value comes from, in my world, those three things, listening, emotional deposits in the emotional bank account, and whatever the third thing was that I said.
Yeah. Keeping everyone
under-promising and over-delivering.
Okay.
That's what it was.
Under-promise and over-deliver.
So, I think that establishes value. And then you've got to go to the Deliver Plus. Like, it's all well and good to do that in the qualification process. We call it the quality client pathway. So you end up with a good quality client at the start of the project, but are they still happy and a good quality at the end of the project?
You want to be providing that plus part of value all the way.
Yeah. And I suggest schedule it. Like, if you're going to use automation and all that sort of stuff, set an alarm. At that point of the project, we want a plus. Pluses are, it's really good to deliver a plus just before the progress payment. That's the best place to put your pluses. It's like, it's reciprocity. They've just given us a wonderful experience and all that. Oh, and here's the progress payment. Happy days.
Yeah.
Lowering the resistance.
Yeah. We talk about applying pressure or removing friction. And often we naturally gravitate towards apply pressure. Whereas if you just remove friction, it will just roll that way. Yeah. The third piece is quite substantial. So we might look at a segment of it. A lot of the guys come to you probably at varying scales of business and join the community and learn and grow. If we looked at the guys on the smaller scale that are wanting to grow, wanting to scale, when it comes to what percentage of guys come to you and are still on the tools?
Half.
Okay.
Maybe a little less.
Maybe let's focus then on that group, getting off the tools, if there's at least half there. Because I was going to look at going at the people who, how do you scale and build a team where I can step back? But let's look at the tool side of things. What's often the biggest obstacle or roadblock, maybe, or blind spot some of these guys have or face that's stopping them from getting off the tools? Because once they can do that, there's a whole lot more they can then go and do and spend their time on in terms of growing the business and business development and that personal development as well.
Yeah.
What do you find that is, and how do you get them to see that and take action towards it?
It's very difficult to start with, but there's lots of reasons as to why this is the case. Some, that's kind of how they've been brought up. They've been brought up in that old school. You just got to head down, bum up, get the work done. That's the secret to it. They also think that they're the only ones who can do it and need to oversee things, so they end up becoming a bottleneck as well. I think that there's a big contributing factor is the whole comfort zone thing. So talking and getting into marketing is like freaking me out, man. Like, can you just take care of it? Can my wife or somebody else do the books? Because and no one wants to come clean that they really don't understand a profit and loss or a balance sheet. Which is why I'm absolutely a massive fan of profit first. But the reason that they want to stay on the tools is because they don't know that stuff. It takes them out of their comfort zone a little bit too far, so they rationalise. And Stephen Covey talks about rationalisation. He says the word rationalise, you break it into two words: rational lies. And that's what it is. We're just lying to ourselves that I have to be on site. I've got to prioritise all of the on-site stuff. And it's the same when they're not on the tools. They trade their tool belt for a computer, a laptop, or a mobile phone and what have you. Same there. They're still tools. And you're not getting off those tools either. Yeah. You need to get off those tools. It's just a comfort zone thing. So we've got to challenge ourselves to get out of our comfort zone. And where that navigation generally falls down is that most people don't have a clear understanding of where they are now. So they're trying to plot a course to somewhere, but where's the starting point, which is kind of important for navigation.
Yeah, totally.
Or they're really unclear on where they want to go. But if they're clear on where they want to go, I want to be off the hammer and nails, and I want to be more, client facing and doing all of that sort of stuff. Cool. What's in your way? Like, we can start to unpack that and find out what systems have you already got in place, what skills have you got, and we can do an audit and go, well, here's all that needs to happen.
Here's where you are. This is where you've told me you're trying to get to.
It's really simple. Like, it's super simple. But I would circle back around as just a word of warning, is that I really encourage people to have those thinking time sessions and start to at least ask themselves the question, what really do I want? What really is my purpose? Because I have worked with people where they said, I just want to get off the tools, and they've been able to do that in not a long time, maybe 18 months or something like that. And they've arrived at this place where no one's asking them to fix the things anymore, and they haven't got anything to do anymore, and they're completely lost. And it's the worst place to be, because they become the pyromaniac firefighter. We all have to have a purpose, and we need to be needed. So they end up subconsciously causing problems in their own business, so they've got something to fix, so they can feel significant. Tony Robbins talks about the 6 human needs, significant being one of them. So you've got, certainty, variety, connection, significance, growth, and contribution are the 6 human needs. And we need them. We have to fulfill them. So if we're not getting our significance by having people ask us questions and fix problems anymore, we've got to get out. We have to feel significant. So we've got to go do something to feel significant. And if you choose the wrong vehicle to feel significant by being the pyromaniac firefighter in your own business, I mean, you'll feel a little bit significant, but at what cost? Like, what's that doing to your business if you're causing problems and you're not even doing it consciously? There's this subconscious need to feel significant. So we go do that, whereas we could feel significant by contributing to our purpose, contributing to a just cause, contributing to change something that we're really passionate about. I'd rather you be getting significance after, chasing after that than a vehicle like causing problems so you can fix it. Sounds like somebody by the name of Trump. But let's not get political.
Yeah, we could definitely talk more about that. Go down that rabbit hole. One thing I do always enjoy hearing people talk about their passions, and I feel like we've heard a lot of, well, all of today's discussion has been your passion, which I've really enjoyed. But you did mention that earlier, profit first is you're very passionate about that.
Yeah.
Could you just give a brief sort of overview for the guys who haven't heard about that, or they've heard it talked about in circles, but have never stopped to read it, learn it, put it into action?
Don't know whether I can do it briefly, or I'll give it my best shot. It kind of starts off with the underlying philosophy of changing your philosophical mathematics about how profit happens. And so normally what people think that profit is from this equation, which is sales minus expenses equals profit.
That seems very logical.
But that's how most people think. So what that encourages is expenses are just expenses. There's not much I can do about it. And profit is a hope strategy, because profit is whatever we have left after the expenses have been paid. And just to give it a bit of context, when someone joins Black Belt, we pay for a profit first professional to go through their finances to give us a health report, and them. They get a copy of a health report. And it's just to make sure that they've got appropriate charging and they know what their overhead costs are and so on and so forth, and how much profit they're making. And we've been doing that for about 7 years now, and not one builder has been making 1 cent of profit according to Profit First, having gone through that process. The accountant says they're making profit because it says so on the profit and loss. Mm-hmm. But that's just a figure on a sheet. It doesn't exist in a bank account or in a tin buried in the backyard.
I feel like everyone's experienced that. When the accountant goes, there's your profit.
Yeah.
Tell me where that is.
Well, it's here and here and here.
Yeah.
And so the profit equation that most people think of is that sales minus expenses equals profit. So profit is, I hope we get some. So Mike Michalowicz says, no, the equation is this: sales minus profit equals expenses. And as soon as you start to think that way and you take your profit first, you then have to run your business on what is left to pay for expenses, because every business I've ever looked at has far more expenses than they can actually afford. And so really understanding your financial position clearly using the profit first process can have a profound effect on your decision making. And that's the thing about profit first. It's not an accounting system, it's an emotional management system. And so it works with your accounting system, not against it. But a lot of accountants are against profit first because it's too simple. You don't need that. But that's because accountants don't have any emotional experience at all. Like, they're emotionless. And they don't understand that everybody else makes decisions based on emotion. Accountants might make decisions based on logic, but they're unicorns, like they're rare. Everyone else makes decisions based on emotion. So what emotion do you feel when you read your profit and loss? Well, confusion for most people. And so we need a system which is just a bank account accounting system, so we know what is actually going on in real time. So the fundamental process that Profit First uses is you don't have a bank account anymore where everything goes in and the bills get paid out. That's just one bucket of money. All the money goes in, all the money goes out. What Profit First does is it breaks it all up into other buckets. Or, I don't know, based on my conversation about audio editing earlier on, there's lots of young people around here, so they might not remember grandma's old jam jar or envelope system where she would get the money, the housekeeping, And she would put some aside for the holiday, some aside for clothes, some aside for food, some aside for electricity. So whenever the bills came, the money was there to pay it. That's all Profit First is. It's Grandma's envelope system. And so you have one bank account that is just the income account, and all the money goes into the income account. Inside that income account is all sorts of money that's not yours. There's GST, there's PAYG tax, there's superannuation, there are costs to pay the materials that you've bought from your supplier, there's money that you have to pay your subcontractors. So the very first thing you do is the money goes in, and then for that period of time, so you do a distribution, say twice a month, for that last fortnight or thereabouts, how much do I need to keep aside to pay for the materials that I've booked up and the subcontractors I need to pay? So the subcontractor and material costs come out of that income account and go into a material and subs account. The amount that's left after that is what's called the real revenue of the business. So if you're doing the numbers for the last financial year, for instance, you'll go, what was my total income and how much did I spend on materials and subcontractors? And I take that off the total income and I get another figure, and that's called the real revenue. And that's really, really important from a psychological perspective. Many years ago, before we were working with builders, we were working with one of the biggest agri-businesses in the state, potato farmers. And the two brothers that owned this business, they would just, whenever they needed a new truck, they'd go to the bank and get a new lease for another truck or another trailer or another tractor or whatever. And they were always really, really struggling financially. And we kind of couldn't figure out, and I didn't even know about Profit First at this stage. So I've interviewed Mike on my podcast about the pumpkin plan. A couple of months later, he calls me back and says, I've got a new book coming out, Profit First. Can I come back on the podcast to promote it? Happy days. Me being a studious interviewer, read the book, felt instantly sick because I could see all the error of my ways, how I've been managing our own business. So I immediately implemented the process, and we teach what we most need to learn. So off I go. I'm teaching our clients how to implement Profit First. And with these potato farmers, they would just go and buy stuff because they thought they were a $6 million business, because the top line revenue was $6 million. And so we applied the Profit First thing called the instant assessment, where we go get the total income, reduce, take the subs and materials off it, and end up with the real revenue. Real revenue was $660,000. So they weren't a $6 million business. They were just over a $500,000 business.
Wow.
And they went, when they saw that. And they changed. Their attitude changed immediately. And all of a sudden, all the old tractors and all the old trailers and everything were for sale, and they're getting rid of this and putting cash back into the business and reducing expenses like crazy, which they were so lucky they did, because the next year was a nightmare year and they would have lost everything had they not done that. And they survived. But the difference it made to them when they understood that they were a $660,000 business, not a $6 million business, was profound. And so that's the first thing. I was chatting with a chap the other day who had built a $30 million business in 7 years, which is really cool.
That's
apart
impressive.
from he was losing $400,000 a month.
Oh.
Wonderful. If you're getting $30 million in, so you think everything's okay, but not applying these Profit First principles, you're dying slowly, death of 1,000 paper cuts, just bleeding to death. And so you need to really understand your financial position, and you do not. Most people do not with the profit and loss and the balance sheet. It's too confusing. So the instant assessment is a very simple system that you find basically 6 figures from your business. The top line revenue, the material and subcontractor costs, that automatically gives you your real revenue. But from your real revenue, you then find out how much went into profit, how much the owner was paid, how much was paid out for tax and superannuation, and how much were paid out in expenses. So just 4 figures. And those 4 figures should add up to the real revenue cost. And it's that simple. And there should be bank accounts. So you have an income bank account, a material and subs bank account, a profit bank account, a tax bank account, an owner's pay bank account, and an operating expense bank account. So 6 bank accounts. And if you do these distributions a couple of times a month, all the money that's in the income account, less the material and subs, gets divided up into a small percentage for profit, the appropriate amount to cover the BAS, and your superannuation, all of that sort of stuff. So that's come out of the income account. The owner's pay has come out of the income account and being segregated into another bank account, and then the rest goes into the operating expenses. So how much is in your operating expense account compared to what you're used to? Not much. And that changes you. So when people look in their bank account and they've just gotten a big progress payment, they go, I reckon we need a Dodge Ram. I think we should sign up for that 6-year asset purchase for that Dodge Ram. Oh, we can't afford that Dodge Ram. They find out 6 months later, 12 months later, whatever,
After
because
they've
they're
signed
expenses. Because what's in that bank account they're looking at is other people's money. And it's building up their confidence. So they're looking in there and they're looking at the tax money, the super money, the supplier's money, the subcontractor's money, their own pay, the profit. It's all in there. And they go, how good are we? Let's get that. We'll get 2 Dodge Rams. But when you do this and split everything out and put the profit away, so they even say, so Mike even says in the book, he says, use a bank that you don't use for your business banking, for your profit account and your tax account. So it's a separate bank, and don't have it connected to your internet banking. Right? So what that means is you can put money in it through internet banking because you can use Pay Anyone. So money can go in, but I can't even access it to find out how much is in it.
And you would do that even for a tax account?
Absolutely, for the tax account. How many builders that you know that have got an ATO debt? If you're using Profit First, you will never, ever, ever have an ATO debt, ever. And without getting into the whole detail, if you implement Profit First, it shows you how to eliminate that ATO debt far better than how you're doing it now. Yeah. And preventing that from happening ever again. But you have it in a separate bank that you actually have to walk to. Remember those days where you had to go and fill out a withdrawal form? That's what you've got to do. And don't tell me you don't need that. You do need it. I don't know how many people have told me, I don't need that. And then the next conversation we have, I had to borrow from the tax account to pay a bill. And it's like, you've just stolen money. That wasn't your money. You've stolen it. In fact, one of our Profit First professionals says, don't even put it in the tax account. As soon as you do your distribution, pay it to the ATO as a credit on your BAS. Just give it to the ATO as soon as you've got it. Don't put it in a bank account. Because he said, if you need that money back, ring up the ATO and say, can I have it back? I need to pay a bill. See what they say. And so, you've got to do these things to protect yourself from yourself. And it's a profoundly effective, life-saving. I don't think that's too much of a stretch. I believe it's saved lives, profit first. I believe it's definitely saved marriages, and we know it's saved businesses, because people, particularly through the COVID pandemic, they'd been doing this, and it just saved their bacon.
They had a war chest to go and...
They had the war chest, and it hits the fan, and they don't lose their business. They still get the because once you got it in there, you don't want to spend it.
Yeah.
but it saves them, you know. And the silly thing is with all of this, and this is another attitudinal thing with builders. One of our members a year or two ago sort of privately texted me and said, and it was like he was whispering to me. He said, "We've just hit $1 million of cash in our profit account."
Well done.
I just wanted to tell you, but I didn't want to post it in the group because, you know, I didn't want to be that guy and seem like I'm boasting. And I go, we are screaming this from the top of the rooftops, mate. You post that inside the group and let's talk about it and all of that. And it was like it was like Roger Bannister breaking the 4-minute mile, like it was this impossible thing before it happened.
Yeah.
And then other people did it. You know, because he ran a 4-minute mile, like 15 other people ran a 4-minute mile after it was proven it was possible.
Yeah.
It's like, so you can do it.
It can be done.
and so people were starting to get these incredible amounts in their profit account.
Possibly a discussion for another day, but how long would they sit in that account?
How long
would that profit there? How long do you let it sit there in terms of the issue of inflation? You know, that again, that's a sort of financial planner, accountancy type conversation. But what I will say about that is that I didn't quite understand what profit was. I didn't understand what profit was until I met Mike and read Profit First. That was the first thing. And then I kind of understood those concepts. But then I read Fix This Next, which is another one of his books that was written after Profit First. And it was really interesting in that book. He said that whatever book I ever write, I say that's the first book you need to read in business. So when he wrote Profit First, he was telling everyone that's the first book you ever read. And now he's got 11 or 12 books, and I think Fix This Next might be number 8 or something like that. But he says Fix This Next is the first book you ever read, because it's all about identifying that we keep chasing apparent problems, but there is a formula, there's a process you can identify which problem you should be looking after in your business right now. And it's generally counterintuitive. It's generally a problem that you don't feel any compulsion to fix. There's no urgency attached to it, because we're chasing all of these things that have urgency, but they're not actually all that important. So I'm just saying that for the purposes of read that book, because it's awesome. Okay. So read Fix This Next
This Next first.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I'll be honest, I have Profit First in my Audible library.
Yeah.
But I just keep getting thrown new books, and so unfortunately it's got pushed down, and I haven't listened to it. And just hearing you describe that there, I would definitely say that's profit being described to me in a different way that I haven't heard before.
Yeah.
So
So I understood what profit was from the Profit First perspective. So it was money that it wasn't needed for anything, because we've got all of the expenses covered. My pay's covered, everything's covered, Bass is covered, and we've even got a war chest growing. So this profit is just for the business owner to reward them for their risk and sacrifice. And in the other book, Fix This Next, he sort of explained profit really isn't profit until it's removed from the business and it's put in the business owner's hands, tax paid, whatever, and you can use it to buy boiled lollies, like whatever you it's yours.
That's very, very
just
true.
While I'm on the boiled lollies. One really important part of Profit First is is when you do your distribution, so every 90 days from the profit account, you leave half of it in there for the war chest. The other half gets distributed to you outside of the business. That's how it should work. And that at least part of it should be used for something that most other people will think is unreasonable. But the key is, as long as whatever you use, some or all of that profit, if it's only a small amount in the beginning, and this won't make sense to most people, if it's only, like in the beginning, you might have $250 as your first profit distribution. Blow it on something that puts the biggest eating grin on your face that you can, because what it's doing is creating a neuro association, an anchor in your nervous system to profit first, good. Like, we've got to fall in love and be so connected with profit first and follow its processes. Otherwise, we don't do it. So you use that to create a really positive anchor in your nervous system about profit first. So it's actually okay to blow it. And if you spend it on something that other people go, well, that was a bit over the top, you're probably pretty close. You're probably doing it the right way. So that's important, because you've got to condition yourself. The worst thing you can do is do all of this work and discipline and sacrifice and get that profit, and then do something sensible with it. Is like throwing the stick for the dog, and when it brings it back and drops it at your feet, you kick it in the head. Like, it's not going to go fetch the stick for too much longer if you keep doing that. You've got to reward yourself emotionally for that. And what will happen is you'll continue to use profit first, which means that the amounts that you're distributing to yourself will be such that you it's ridiculous to spend it all in. So you start to do smart things with it. But at the same time, I like those shoes, or I like that electric skateboard, or, whatever. And you're rewarding yourself, and you'll continue to do it, and you continue to improve it, and it changes your life. It's absolutely incredible. So profit isn't really profit until it's out of the business and in your hands. And just one little part about that is, some people think, but I got my profit and I reinvested it. Well, it's not bloody profit, mate. That's an expense. As soon as you reinvest it, it's an expense. And I was talking to a chappie the other day who had done that and built his business up to a massive business. But it's all starting to crumble now, because he just kept putting the money back in the business, and the expenses just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And because the revenue was so huge, and they weren't working out what the real revenue was, they were making poor decisions, and now they're paying the price. But, he can fix it. He'll fix it.
Yeah.
But it's like starting again. But I highly recommend it. I love it. If anyone wants to talk to me about it, reach out to me, because I can talk about it for 7 hours with a mouthful of rocks underwater.
One day, maybe I'll see that. Mick, thank you very much.
Pleasure.
For coming on. This was a lot of fun. I would say this might be the funnest and deepest podcast I've done so far. So
fun and deep. Wow.
Yeah.
Tick, tick.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Anytime.